Hey everybody, this is Dan Schinder here on Drum Talk TV with Rich Redmond joining us for the first time. He's going to be doing a full-length interview with Drum Talk TV correspondent Alan Kenny in about a week or so. But we want to introduce Rich to the show and honestly just kind of get you jacked for his interview because Rich has a vast musical experience. He also is on a clinic tour, and not only does he play nightly when he's on tour with Jason Aldean for 25 to 30,000 people, but he has played with people like Jewel, Kelly Clarkson, Joe Perry, Bryan Adams, the Pointer Sisters. The list goes on, but we have limited time. We both have to be somewhere in a couple hours. But he's on a great clinic tour called Crash Course, which Alan is going to talk to all about. However, in this introduction to our audience, what I'd like to ask you about Crash Course, Crash standing for commitment, relationships, attitude, success, and hunger. Rich, I want to ask you about the hunger part. Hunger doesn't mean folks ordering a pizza before the gig or baking a turkey on the weekend. It has to do with desire, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, when anybody is in the, the throes of relentlessly pursuing what they want to do with their life, they may encounter periods of hunger. You know, they don't call them starving artists for nothing. You know, when I moved to Nashville, I was hungry. I was on a high sodium diet, man, ramen noodles. And, but no, that I definitely try to point to the idea that you have to, especially in the music industry, it's so tough and it's so competitive that you have to have a desire, a burning desire in your belly to succeed. And, you know, failure can't be an option. At least that's the mindset that I had when going after the music business, navigating the music business. It's tough. You know, you've got to love it. You got to be in it for the right reason.
Right. And Rich, being that you do work, you know, Rich is not just a drummer. Not that being just a drummer would be a bad thing. but Rich is a songwriter, he's a composer, he's a producer, and he also develops talent. Rich, in your work developing talent with young artists at whatever age they are, and just seeing other people around in the music business trying to make it or even that have made it, do you find that a lot of people sometimes tend to get in their own way, and two, perhaps might be very talented, but just lack the desire. They lack that hunger factor.
Yeah, I've seen both. I've seen people that have had record deals land in their laps. Everything was given to them, but for some reason, the only thing that was important to them on the day we were supposed to cut vocals is watching, you know, the playoffs or something. You know what I mean? It's like look at you, you have gotten something that other people would dream of having, and that some people just don't. They're not willing to roll up their sleeves. It's like people that have raw talent, you know, it's just amazing talent, and they don't want to roll up their sleeves and work hard to shape that talent and refine it. So a lot of talent out there that gets wasted. And I also see people that maybe have less talent, but they have such a burning desire to succeed, and they're not afraid of hard work, and they're able to put together a team of people, you know, the right producer, get the right songs, they hire the right musicians, they book the right studio, they get management, the right booking agency, and they're able to navigate the music industry by having the right team behind them. And that's really what life is about finding your team, you know, finding your tribe, you know, finding your network, whatever you want to call it. Everybody needs one. You know, everybody needs those at least five people in their life that they can call no matter what when they're broken down on the side of the road or, you know, they need help. So, yeah, I've seen all sides of it, you know, in this crazy business.
In your events, Rich, where you do talk about these things, the commitment, the relationships, attitude, you know, everything, do you find that, does everybody have these skills and we just have to wake them up? Are they things that some people just don't have and can't drum up, no pun intended? What's your take on that?
You know, it's a great question. You know, I didn't necessarily know that I was using this concept or living by this philosophy until I put a title on it. I was like, Crash, wow. I have another motivational speaker friend of mine that he's like, dude, you're a drummer, Crash, here it is. You know, we had a you know, we're barstool philosophers, and so we came up with this he helped me come up with the concept. And I was like, man, that's great. That's a great idea, brother. And I've started, you know, going full force, doing events and marketing this philosophy essentially as a philosophy for living in 2006. So here we are. It's taken 7 years to come to the public's consciousness as it has now. But I think it's just an idea of being made aware of these things, and it's such a globally universal concept. Everybody at everybody walks of life that wants to accomplish something has to be committed. You have to be committed to that. If you're a Fortune 500 company, you have to be committed not only to your employees and your shareholders, but to your customers. And anybody in life has to put value on relationships, because they rule the world. And having a winning attitude and being a team player really is about 99% of life. It's the one thing that people will always remember about. You can have the fanciest car and wear Gucci and have a Rolex watch, but if you're not a kind person that doesn't have a winning attitude, people are going to remember your attitude. So that's very crucial to remember. And developing skill sets, developing your and working on your weaknesses is something that never goes out of style. And keeping that hunger for success burning in your belly. If you want to be the best soccer mom or the best lawyer or the best doctor or the best drummer, you can use these techniques.
Right, absolutely. They apply to anything that you pour your passion to. And I believe it does all start with pouring your passion into it. And going back to a comment that you made a moment ago, Rich, about rolling up your sleeves, a lot of young and older musicians, whether they're drummers or whatever they play, they don't realize that making it doesn't mean that the work is over. That's when the work gets even more intense. The easy part, I don't want to say easy, but the most fun part, the most innate part, and the part that we're really there for is when you step into the studio and make a great recording. When you step on stage and put on a great show. You're not getting paid for that. You're getting paid for being away from your family. You're being paid for travel. You're being paid for, all the extra time on the road, on the bus, and all the business part that you have to deal with. Dealing with PR people, the management, the other band members, all these different things is really what you're getting paid for. And I think that young musicians that are really serious about making it really need to realize that it's work, and it's work way beyond your musicianship.
Yeah. Being a great musician is the expectation. That's the easy part. So you work your whole life to develop and mold your, if you read Malcolm Arnold's books, Outliers, he says you have to have 10 to 12,000 hours of applied effort to become an expert at anything. And I think this very much applies to the drums, because by the time you learn your posture and your grip and your rudiments and all the percussion instruments and styles, and you're playing along to recordings and you're definitely going to put in 10,000 hours to get to the point where you start to figure it out and become an expert. It's like I heard Kenny Aronoff say in a one time. He goes, I'm not a rocket scientist. He goes, I'm just an expert. I'm an expert at what I do because I put in the time. I work those drumming muscles every day. I get out of bed every day and I show up. And that's what Woody Allen says. He says 98% of life is showing up. So if you're going to show up, you might as well be great at what you do, affect people in a positive way, try to change people's lives. And you could do that with drumming, So that was my goal, is to get to the point where I could be good enough to where I can play with world-class musicians and be playing, I don't play on the best recordings every day. Sometimes you get hired to play on a recording session where you're playing less than grand songs, but it's still a craft. You used to get paid for your craft, and you're still playing drums. At the end of the day, you're playing drums.
Right, and you still have to play even the simplest things. You have to play them well. You have to play them right. You have to play them in time. You've got to know the dynamics from the heart. Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough biz. I was just on Skype with my wife, and we were like, we've created a monster. We have a healthy marriage. We love the heck out of each other. We support the heck out of each other, but we're never in the same place at the same time. And it's, when you be careful what you wish for, because if you want a successful music career, you are going to be traveling a lot. And, I'm in a hotel right now. I mean, here we go at the Residence Inn, And
you and I have been chatting the last few days online, and every time I talk to you, you've been in a different place. And if you haven't been on tour before, folks, you need to realize that it's not all glamour. I have talked to many musicians that retired from music all together simply because they finally said, I got sick of living out of a suitcase. Now that isn't happening to everybody. I mean, you've got Carmine Appice, you've got Nico McBrain, all these guys that are still on tour right now and they're into their 60s and they still love it. That's where the attitude part comes. You embrace what comes with what you wish for, and when it comes true, like you said, you show up, you live up to it, and you take stock in what you're real good at and surround yourself with people that fill in all the blanks. It's great to hear that you got a great marriage and you're such a busy musician, because you don't just do a recording and then go on tour with Jason. You find time to fill every little thing with these clinics, with corporate events, speaking engagements. I mean, Skype lessons. It's great.
Well, I think you got to diversify or die in the modern world, and since the music business is not as healthy as it once was, you really have to multitask. And what I find is that drumming and music are the umbrella, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always looking for the next opportunity, and you're finding. Potential might not come from music. It may come from other things, but it may come from a relationship that I created in the music industry. You know what I mean? You just have to kind of be open to everything. But my idea is to get out of bed every day and just do what I do at a high level and try to surround myself with like-minded individuals, birds of a feather, and kind of just because life is short. It's if you're not having a good time, definitely there's easier ways to make money than the music business, but I have a blast, and I'm not gone as much as some of my friends who play with pop acts. They're gone for months and months and months at a time. And what's great about Nashville and the appeal of Nashville, and more people are realizing that we're in this heart of the country, so we can get to the East Coast quickly, we can get to the West Coast, and it's kind of a good home base. And the way Nashville acts have always toured is we get on the bus on a Wednesday night, and then we go out and we work the road Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we come back on Sunday, which leaves you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to kiss your wife or girlfriend, water the plants, pet the cat. You could chase studio work, you can do in-town showcases, you could practice, you could write songs. There's those 3 days a week extra that to play with in Nashville, which is great. So you can have one foot in the recording world and one foot on the touring world. And to me, it satisfies both sides of my muse. You get the instant reaction from the people of communicating live music that I'll never be able to have without in my life. And there's the thrill of working with artists and molding talent and hearing great playbacks. And when you realize they call it a record for a reason, because it's a record of something that's recorded at one particular place and time in the universe. And to have that last forever, it's a wonderful feeling. So I have to have both of those things.
That's really cool. Hey, before we go, let's do a Rich Redmond fun fact for everybody. Since you tour so much, what do you do to pass the time on the road when you're not setting up, you're not doing meet and greets, you're not doing sound check, you're not doing the gig? How do you pass your time, Rich?
The day just kind of goes. When I'm out there with my guys, we wake up at a decent time. I'm lucky that a band with guys, they all have kids, so they're used to that early bird schedule. So we get up, we have our coffee. We're coffee addicts. So like the one thing us cannot be without is Starbucks coffee. So whoever turn it is to make coffee, we make coffee. We start watching a little bit of ESPN or CNN, catching up on the news, little gossip, whatever happens. And then everybody, one guy we might ship off to the gym. Usually I'm headed to a clinic somewhere to do a clinic. I'll fit in a clinic or a master class before my sound check. We sound check from 3 to 4 p.m. every day. And then it's time to eat dinner, take a shower, do the show. And then it's Groundhog Day, all the time. I'd like to do what I call smell the roses. So for me, it's like if the sun is shining out, I'll go for like a little speed walk, or I'll walk up to the nearest coffee house and just kind of take pictures, and I might talk to my wife while I'm on my little smell the roses walk. But Starbucks or the used record store or a pawn shop, I just kind of find out where those things are, and then I'll head that direction.
That's cool. That's really cool. Great. Rich, thanks so much for joining us on this Meet Rich Redmond, the preview. You'll be getting with Alan Kenny. Alan's going to do a more in-depth interview regarding your career, regarding your playing, your equipment, all your gear, your technique, things like that. And we'll push that out as soon as possible. And on the screen right now, folks, is all of Rich's information. You can see richredmond.com. And crashcourseforsuccess.com. His both sites are there. You can find out how to book him, where to go see him do a clinic, where to go see him play with Jason Aldean, and everything else he's got going on. Tap into some Rich Redmond and get some of this contagious energy. You can never have too much hunger, right, Rich?
Oh, no, you got to have hunger. And hey, shameless plug, I was going to let all the listeners out there know that I am doing my first annual Crash Course for Success Drummers Weekend. It's 24 hours of hands-on training with me, guest clinicians, guest artists, guest speakers. And we're going to break bread a lot. We got a lot of party rooms at PF Chang's and stuff set up for the evenings. At the end of the event, you get to sit in with a all-star Nashville rhythm section, band at a famous nightclub where a lot of people have been to Nashville. And you could sign up. The best place to check it out is facebook.com/crash with Rich. It's going to be, there's 30 slots available, so you got to sign up for it if you can. I'd love to have you November 1 through 3 in Nashville.
That's great. Make sure you mention that on the interview that you do with Alan as well. We will push it out there. When you get a chance, send us some graphics and whatnot.
Okay.
And, we'll help toss it out there to the universe.
Love it.
And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you in person. I know that we're going to get along fabulously.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, thank you for joining us here on this Drum Talk TV preview with Rich Redmond. Keep tuning in to more insightful interviews in the world of drumming here on drumtalktv.com. Thanks, everybody.